Hey, we don't serve your kind here after dark. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the McDonald's down the street. The hostess at Serenity Restaurant physically stepped sideways, blocking the glass entrance with her body. Her manicured fingers gripped the door handle like a weapon. Jamal Washington, 42, stood motionless in his khakis and leather sneakers. Behind the hostess, warm light spilled across white tablecloths and crystal glasses. She turned her back to him, whispering loudly to her co-worker, "These street people think they can just walk anywhere nowadays." Jamal checked his Rolex 7:31 p.m. He pulled a black American Express card from his wallet, holding it where she could see. The hostess didn't even glance back. Have you ever been judged by your appearance before anyone bothered to learn who you really are? The restaurant's mahogany clock showed 7:33 p.m., 8 minutes until the kitchen closed for tonight's private event. Brittany Carter, the head hostess, smoothed her black dress and spoke louder. "Security will escort you out if necessary." Her voice carried across the dining room, turning heads at nearby tables. A young woman by the window, college-aged with natural curls, discreetly angled her phone toward the entrance. Her Instagram Live notification popped up. "Going live now." "Ma'am, I have a reservation," Jamal said quietly, his voice steady as river stones. "Under what name?" Brittany's eyebrows arched skeptically. "Washington." She tapped her tablet with theatrical flourish, scanning the list. "I don't see any Washington here. And even if there was, our dress code clearly states business attire only." Behind her, servers in crisp white shirts bustled between tables. The evening crowd, mostly white professionals in suits, pretended not to watch while stealing glances. Jamal's phone buzzed. The notification preview read, "Board meeting reminder, 8 o'clock p.m. A first-class Delta boarding pass peeked from his jacket pocket, along with a VIP parking validation ticket. "Look, buddy." A voice cut through the tension. Derek Martinez emerged from behind the hostess station, early 30s, pressed shirt, arms crossed like a bouncer. His name tag read General Manager. "We have standards here," Derek continued, positioning himself beside Brittany. "Khakis and sneakers don't cut it at Serenity. This isn't a sports bar." The live-streaming student, Emma, whispered into her phone, "Y'all seeing this discrimination right now? This is wild." Her viewer count climbed, 127, 340, 589. Comments flooded the screen. "This is disgusting," mixed with, "He should just leave," and "Get them." Derek stepped closer to Jamal, invading his personal space. "Either order something expensive or find somewhere else to eat. We're not running a charity here." The dining room had gone quieter. Conversations hushed to whispers. Silverware clinked more carefully against plates. Jamal remained calm, his hands relaxed at his sides. "I'd like to speak with the owner." "The owner doesn't deal with walk-ins," Brittany snapped, "especially ones who can't follow basic dress codes." 7 minutes until the kitchen closes," Derek announced to no one in particular, tapping his watch. "We need to clear this situation." Through the window, Jamal spotted his reflection, a successful black man in expensive casual wear being treated like a threat. The irony wasn't lost on him. His phone buzzed again. This time, the caller ID showed, "Corporate Legal, Urgent." He declined the call. A security guard approached reluctantly from the bar area. Tyrone Jackson, 28, built like a linebacker but walking with obvious discomfort. His uniform shirt stretched tight across broad shoulders. "Derek, what's the issue?" Tyrone's voice held reluctance. "This gentleman needs an escort to his car," Derek said, never taking his eyes off Jamal. Tyrone studied Jamal's face, something nagging at his memory. "Sir, maybe we can work this out." "No working it out," Brittany interrupted. "Rules are rules." Emma's Instagram Live had hit 1,247 viewers. She held her phone steady, capturing every moment. This black man is being denied service at this fancy restaurant in Atlanta. This is 2024, people. Comments exploded. What restaurant is this? Name and shame. Call them out. The other diners had fully abandoned any pretense of eating. Some held up phones, recording their own videos. Others looked away, uncomfortable but unwilling to intervene. Derek pulled out his own phone. I'm calling the police. We have someone refusing to leave the premises. Wait, Tyrone said, something clicking in his recognition. I think... No thinking required, Derek cut him off. Just do your job. Jamal watched it all unfold with unsettling calm. His breathing remained steady. His posture relaxed. Like a man who held cards no one else could see. The kitchen doors swung open. 3 servers emerged, drawn by the commotion. They whispered among themselves, glancing between Jamal and the managers. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek announced loudly, addressing the dining room, we apologize for this disruption to your evening. Scattered applause came from 2 tables near the back. Jamal's phone lit up with multiple missed calls. Corporate legal, board chair, Atlanta office. A text message preview appeared. Board approved your restaurant acquisition. Congratulations on closing the... He quickly swiped it away. Emma's viewer count had reached 2,847. Y'all, I can't believe what I'm witnessing right now. This is exactly the kind of treatment black people face every day. The police sirens were audible now, growing closer. Brittany crossed her arms triumphantly. Maybe next time you'll think twice about trying to sneak into places you don't belong. 5 minutes until the kitchen closes, Derek repeated, checking his watch again. This needs to end now. Tyrone shifted uncomfortably, still studying Jamal's face. Something familiar about those eyes, that jawline, like seeing someone from a dream you couldn't quite remember. The restaurant felt frozen in time servers holding trays mid-stride, diners with forks halfway to their mouths, all waiting to see what would happen next. Jamal finally spoke, his voice quiet but carrying clearly. I'd like to request a private word with management. You can say whatever you need to say right here, Derek replied. We don't have anything to hide. Outside, the police cruiser pulled into the parking lot, its lights painting the restaurant windows red and blue. Officer Rodriguez stepped through the entrance, his radio crackling with dispatch codes. Behind him, his partner, Officer Kim, surveyed the scene, a well-dressed black man surrounded by restaurant staff and a room full of onlookers with phones raised. We got a call about someone refusing to leave private property, Rodriguez said, his hand resting casually on his belt. Derek stepped forward eagerly. Officers, thank you for responding so quickly. This individual has been disrupting our dinner service and won't leave despite being asked multiple times. Emma's Instagram Live exploded to 4,923 viewers. Comments flooded faster than she could read. ACAB. This is insane. Record everything. Someone call the news. 6 minutes until the kitchen closes, Derek announced again, as if the countdown gave him authority. Officer Kim looked at Jamal. Sir, what's your side of this? I came for dinner. I have a reservation under Washington. Brittany jumped in. We already checked. No Washington on the list, and he's not dressed appropriately for our establishment. Jamal gestured calmly toward his clothes. Khakis, collared shirt, leather shoes. I'm not sure what's inappropriate. The officer nodded slowly. Looks fine to me for a restaurant. Derek's jaw tightened. Officers, we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone. This is private property. In the dining room, the tension had become suffocating. 3 tables had already asked for their check and left. Others sat frozen, afraid to move or speak. A server named Madison whispered loudly to her coworker, I heard he tried to use a fake credit card earlier. I never attempted to pay for anything, Jamal corrected quietly. Emma adjusted her phone angle, ensuring she caught everything. Y'all, there are now police here for a black man trying to eat dinner. This is America in 2024. Her viewer count hit 7,156. Tyrone stepped closer, something finally clicking in his memory. Wait, I think I recognize... Tyrone, stay focused, Derek snapped. Do your job. Officer Rodriguez looked around the room, noting the phones recording from every angle. Look, if this man hasn't committed a crime, we can't arrest him for wanting dinner. He's trespassing, Brittany insisted. Only if you formally asked him to leave and he refused, Officer Kim pointed out. Derek's face flushed red. We're asking him to leave right now, officially. Jamal's phone buzzed insistently. The caller ID showed Washington Restaurant Group, emergency line. He let it go to voicemail. 4 minutes until the kitchen closes, Derek repeated, his voice rising. We have a private event starting at 8. The officers exchanged glances. This felt excessive for a simple trespassing call. Sir, Officer Rodriguez addressed Jamal, they're asking you to leave their establishment. You'll need to go. A collective gasp rose from Emma's live stream audience, now at 9,402 viewers. But Jamal didn't move. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly, deliberately, with both officers watching. Before I leave, he said, I'd like to show you something. Derek stepped back instinctively. What are you doing? Jamal pulled out a business card, not his wallet, not a weapon, just a simple white card. He held it out to Derek. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Derek snatched the card impatiently, barely glancing at it. What is this supposed to... His face went completely pale. The card slipped from his fingers, fluttering to the marble floor. Brittany bent to pick it up, reading aloud. Jamal Washington, Chief Executive Officer, Washington Restaurant Group. Her voice trailed off as the words sank in. The restaurant fell into absolute silence. Even the background jazz music seemed to pause. Tyrone's eyes widened in recognition. Oh no. Oh no. That's why I knew your face. From the training videos, you're... The owner, Jamal finished quietly. Emma's phone nearly slipped from her hands. Y'all, oh my God, y'all, he owns the restaurant. Her live stream exploded. Viewer count shot past 15,000 in seconds. Comments became a blur of excitement. Plot twist. Get them. This is everything. Karma. Derek stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Mr. Washington, we didn't... How were we supposed to... No? Jamal's voice remained calm, but something sharp glinted in his eyes. That's exactly the problem. Officer Rodriguez looked between the business card and Jamal. You own this restaurant? I own 47 restaurants across the Southeast. This is one of them. Brittany backed away slowly, her confident demeanor crumbling. Sir, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. That's the point, Jamal interrupted. You had no idea who I was, so you treated me like I was nobody. The dining room had erupted in whispers. Phones filmed from every angle. Emma could barely contain her excitement as she narrated for her 18,000 viewers. Derek's hands shook. Mr. Washington, please, this is all a misunderstanding. If we had known, you would have treated me differently? The question hung in the air like smoke. Officer Kim cleared his throat. Well, I think our services aren't needed here anymore. Actually, Jamal said, checking his Rolex. I have a board meeting in 20 minutes. But first, I'd like to address my staff. Derek's face had gone from red to green. Your staff? My employees. All of you work for me. Jamal walked past the hostess station into the main dining room. Every customer's eyes followed him. The servers stood frozen like mannequins. He pulled out his phone and opened an app. The restaurant's internal scheduling system. Let's see. Derek Martinez, hired March 15th, 2022. Brittany Carter, hired August 3rd, 2023. His finger scrolled down the screen. Madison Torres, Tyler Brooks, Ashley Williams. Each name he called made the corresponding employee flinch. Emma's live stream had reached 23,000 viewers. The comments were moving too fast to read, but the energy was electric. 2 minutes until the kitchen closes, Jamal announced, borrowing Derek's earlier refrain. But I think we need to have a different kind of conversation. He looked around the room at the customers filming everything, at his employees' terrified faces, at the officers still standing by awkwardly. I've been conducting mystery visits across all my locations, Jamal continued, testing how customers are treated when no one thinks the owner is watching. Derek's knees looked ready to buckle. Sir, please, I can explain. Can you? Can you explain why you assumed I couldn't afford to eat here? Why did you call security? Why do you call the police? The silence was deafening. Jamal's phone buzzed with another call from corporate legal. This time he answered. Yes, Patricia. Yes, I'm aware of the live stream. No, don't send anyone yet. I'm handling it personally. He hung up and looked directly at Derek and Brittany. I believe we need to discuss your future with this company. The silence stretched like a held breath. Derek's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. Brittany's mascara had started to smudge at the corners of her eyes. Mr. Washington, Derek stammered. We had no way of knowing. Stop! Jamal's voice cut through the excuse cleanly. You had no way of knowing because you didn't ask. You saw my skin color and made assumptions. Emma's Instagram live viewer count exploded past 31,000. Comments flooded like a waterfall. Drag them! Justice! This is better than Netflix. Expose them all! Officer Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably. Sir, do you need us to— No, officers, thank you for responding, but this is now an internal employment matter. The two policemen exchanged glances and headed for the exit, leaving the restaurant staff to face their owner alone. Jamal walked slowly through the dining room, his leather shoes clicking against the marble floor. Every step echoed in the unnatural quiet. Before we continue, Jamal announced to the room, I want everyone to understand something. This isn't about revenge. This is about education. He pulled out his phone and opened an app with the Washington Restaurant Group logo. This is our company's internal analytics system. Every transaction, every customer interaction, every table assignment gets tracked. Derek's face drained of more color as he realized the implications. Tyrone, Jamal called to the security guard. You recognized me eventually. Why? Tyrone's voice came out hoarse. The orientation videos, sir. When I got hired 6 months ago. But you were in a suit then, and I should have known immediately. Should you have? Or should it not matter what I was wearing? The question landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples through the room. Let me show you something interesting, Jamal continued, tapping his phone screen. Tonight's reservation system shows 43 confirmed reservations. Of those, 6 were black customers. Derek, can you guess where those 6 tables were located? Derek's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Tables 16 through 24, every single one. The section by the kitchen doors and service station. Coincidence? Jamal stopped at a table where an elderly white couple sat with their dessert untouched. Excuse me, how was your service tonight? The woman looked mortified. We didn't want to get involved. I'm not asking you to get involved. I'm asking about your server's treatment of you. Excellent, the man admitted quietly. Very attentive. Checked on us 5 times. Refilled the water immediately. Table number? 7, the woman whispered. Jamal nodded and moved to the next table. A young black couple who had watched the entire scene unfold. And your experience? The woman spoke carefully. Our server ignored us for 20 minutes. We had to flag down someone else to take our order. No water refills. I had to ask 3 times for bread. Table number? 19. Which server? She pointed reluctantly at Madison, the server who had whispered about fake credit cards. Emma captured every word, her phone trembling slightly with adrenaline. "Y'all, this man is conducting a full investigation right here in real time. These are real-life stories unfolding before our eyes." Madison's face went ashen. "Sir, I was just busy with other tables." "Were you?" Jamal pulled out his phone and opened another app. "Let's check tonight's seating chart and timing logs." Derek watched in horror as Jamal navigated through what was clearly a sophisticated restaurant management system. Table 12 was seated at 7:15 p.m., Jamal read from his screen. Black couple. Their drink order was taken at 7:51 p.m. 36 minutes. He scrolled through more data. Food order taken at 8:03 p.m. Water glasses refilled. Never. He looked up at Madison. Table 8, the elderly white couple seated at 7:22 p.m. Drink order taken at 7:25 p.m. 3 minutes. Food order at 7:27 p.m. Water refilled 4 times. The numbers hung in the air like an indictment. "Madison, can you explain this pattern?" Madison's voice cracked. They seemed patient. I thought they weren't in a hurry." "You thought a couple waiting 36 minutes for drinks weren't in a hurry?" "Coincidence?" Jamal asked mildly. Madison opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jamal continued his methodical walk through the dining room. At each table, he cross-referenced his app data with customer experiences. The pattern became undeniable. White customers received faster service, better attention, more frequent check-ins. His phone rang. The caller ID showed Channel 2 News. He declined it. Another call immediately. Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Declined. A third call. Washington Post. He let it ring. "Sir," Derek tried again, desperation creeping into his voice, "maybe we could discuss this privately." "Privately?" Jamal turned to face him. "Like how you privately humiliated me in front of all these customers? Like how you privately called me street people and suggested McDonald's?" Emma's live stream had hit 45,000 viewers. Local news vans were pulling into the parking lot. She could see their lights through the windows. "This is incredible, y'all," she whispered into her phone. "The news trucks are here. This is about to be everywhere. These are the touching stories that need to be told." Jamal walked back to the hostess station where Brittany stood frozen. "Ms. Carter, how long have you worked in hospitality?" 3 years, she whispered. "And in those 3 years, how many black customers have you seated at prime tables versus corner tables?" I don't keep track of that. The reservation system does." Jamal tapped his phone screen. "Would you like to see the data?" Brittany's legs looked ready to give out. "Table assignments for the past 6 months," Jamal continued, reading from his phone. Black customers, 73% seated at tables 15 to 24. Those are the tables by the kitchen and restrooms. Average wait time for seating, 12 minutes past reservation time. He scrolled down. White customers, 81% seated at tables 114, window views, quieter sections, average wait time, 3 minutes past reservation time. The numbers were damning in their precision. "Brittany, our most expensive tables 1 through 6 overlook the city skyline. In 6 months, how many black customers were seated there?" Brittany's voice was barely audible. "I don't know." 4. Out of 847 black customers, that's 0.47%. The mathematical precision made the discrimination undeniable. Derek made one last desperate attempt. "Sir, those could be coincidences, preferences." "Could be." Jamal's voice remained infuriatingly calm. "Let's look at another metric. Average meal duration by demographic." More tapping on his phone. Black customers average 52 minutes from seating to check delivery. White customers average 47 minutes. Asian customers, 49 minutes. Latino customers, 51 minutes. He looked up from his screen. Notice the pattern? The darker the skin, the longer the wait. A server named Tyler, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke up. "Mr. Washington, I never meant to discriminate. I serve everyone the same." Jamal looked at him kindly. "Tyler Brooks, let's check your tables tonight. Table 7 you've visited 6 times in the past hour. Refilled drinks, brought extra bread, asked about dessert twice." Tyler nodded eagerly. "Table 9? Jamal gestured to a young Latina couple. "Visited once, for their order. No drink refills, no check-ins." Tyler's mouth fell open. "I'm not saying you're consciously racist, Tyler. I'm saying unconscious bias affects behavior, and behavior affects people's lives." Emma could barely keep up with the comments on her live stream. "This man is a genius. He came with receipts. Data don't lie. CEO of the year. Black stories matter." The viewer count hit 52,000. Jamal's phone buzzed with a text from his corporate attorney. "Legal wants to know if you need a crisis management team deployed." He typed back, "Not a crisis. This is strategy." Through the windows, news crews were setting up equipment. Bright lights illuminated the parking lot like a movie set. "Mr. Washington," Brittany tried one more time, tears now flowing freely. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't fire me. I have student loans, rent—" "Ms. Carter," Jamal interrupted gently, "what you did tonight wasn't just about me. Every black customer who walks through that door faces the same treatment. Every Latino family, every young couple who doesn't look wealthy enough." He gestured to the dining room. "How many potential customers have you turned away? How many people felt unwelcome and never came back?" Derek realized where this was heading. "Sir, if it's about money, about losses, it's not about money, Derek. It's about what this company stands for." Jamal walked to the center of the dining room where everyone could see and hear him clearly. "I started this restaurant group 15 years ago with one location and a dream. Every restaurant I open, I ask myself, would my grandmother feel welcome here? Would my nephew? Would any black child feel comfortable celebrating their birthday here?" His voice carried easily through the silent room. Tonight, I got my answer. Emma's hands shook as she held her phone steady. "Y'all, I'm crying. This is the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed. These are the real-life stories that change everything." The live stream viewer count approached 60,000. Jamal continued. "I've spent the last 3 months visiting my restaurants unannounced. 47 locations. Tonight makes number 23. The staff looked at each other with growing horror. 23 locations where I've experienced some form of discrimination from my own employees." Derek's voice came out as a croak. How many people have you fired?" "Fired?" Jamal seemed genuinely surprised by the question. "Derek, I haven't fired anyone." Confusion rippled through the room. "I've retrained the staff, implemented new systems, changed policies, created bias awareness programs. Because most people aren't evil, they're just unaware." He looked directly at Derek and Brittany. "But some behaviors cross lines that can't be uncrossed." Jamal's phone rang again this time, showing Mayor's office. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away to take the call. "Jamal? It's Angela. I'm watching the live stream. The whole city's watching. Do you need anything?" "Just fair reporting, Madam Mayor. Let the story speak for itself." He hung up and returned to face his employees. "Now," he said, checking his Rolex 7:58 p.m., "I have a board meeting in 2 minutes. But before I go, we need to address tonight's employment decisions." The room held its collective breath. The room held its collective breath as Jamal continued his devastating assessment. Emma's live stream had reached 73,000 viewers, with comments flooding faster than anyone could read. "Derek Martinez, Brittany Carter, Madison Torres, your employment with Washington Restaurant Group is terminated, effective immediately." Derek's knees buckled. He gripped the hostess podium for support. "Mr. Washington, please, I have a mortgage, 2 kids in college. I've worked here for 3 years." And in those 3 years, Jamal interrupted calmly, you've cost this company approximately $347,000 in lost revenue from discriminatory practices. He pulled out his phone, accessing another analytics dashboard. Would you like to see the breakdown? Derek's mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Customer retention rate for black patrons at this location, 23%. Industry average, 67%. That's a 44-point gap representing roughly 2,300 lost return visits annually. Jamal's fingers moved across his screen with surgical precision. Average spend per black customer here, $67. Average spend per white customer, $89. Same menu, same service, allegedly, but a $22 difference per transaction. The precision of these numbers sent ripples through the dining room. Several customers pulled out their own phones, calculating the implications. Let me break this down further, Jamal continued, switching to another app screen. Monthly revenue loss from discriminatory practices, $48,400. Annual total, $580,800. Over 3 years of Derek's management, $1,742,400. Derek's face went from red to pale as the magnitude hit him. That's not including legal exposure. Federal discrimination violations under Title II of the Civil Rights Act carry maximum penalties of $100,000 per incident for businesses. Brittany was crying openly now, mascara streaming down her cheeks. Sir, I didn't mean... Ms. Carter, let me share something interesting about your greeting patterns. Jamal's voice remained eerily calm. Security footage from the past 6 months shows you smile and make eye contact with 94% of white customers upon entry, black customers, 31%, Latino customers, 42%, Asian customers, 78%. The precision of the data was crushing in its clarity. Your body language analysis is even more telling. You step back an average of 8.3 inches when greeting black customers. White customers, you step forward 2.1 inches on average. Emma whispered into her live stream, Y'all, he's got body language statistics. This man came prepared for war. Her viewer count climbed to 81,000. But the most damaging metric, Jamal continued, is our online reputation. This location has a 3.2-star Yelp rating. Our other Atlanta locations average 4.6 stars. He scrolled through his phone with deliberate slowness. Let me read some recent reviews. Felt unwelcome from the moment we walked in. Posted by Jennifer M., March 15th. Waited 45 minutes for a table despite having reservations. Posted by Marcus T., April 2nd. Server ignored us most of the evening. Posted by Keisha W., May 18th. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Several of those reviews likely described his tables. Derek, do you want to know what those reviews cost us? Jamal didn't wait for an answer. Each 1-star review reduces revenue by approximately $5,000 annually, according to Harvard Business School research. He tapped his screen again. This location has received 47 1-star reviews in the past year, specifically mentioning poor service or discrimination. That's $235,000 in lost annual revenue. The financial impact was becoming crystal clear to everyone watching. From a legal perspective, Jamal continued, opening another app on his phone, we're currently facing 3 discrimination lawsuits from former customers. Average settlement for restaurant discrimination cases in Georgia, $87,000 per case. Derek's hands were shaking now. 3 lawsuits? The Thompson family from February, the Williams group from April, and the Johnson anniversary dinner from June, all citing discriminatory treatment at this location. Jamal looked up from his phone. Combined legal exposure, $261,000, plus attorney fees averaging $45,000 per case. Total potential liability, $396,000. The math was relentless. each number another nail in Derek's professional coffin. "Mr. Washington," Derek tried one more desperate gambit, "if this is about compensation, about making things right financially—" "Derek, you still don't understand." Jamal's tone carried disappointment rather than anger. "This isn't about money. This is about the 127 black families who chose not to return here, the teenagers who felt ashamed bringing their dates, the professionals who questioned their own worth after eating here." He gestured toward the dining room where customers sat transfixed by the unfolding drama. "Every discriminatory action creates ripple effects. That young couple at table 19, they'll tell their friends, their family, their social media followers. Conservative estimate, each negative experience reaches 47 people through word of mouth and online reviews." Jamal's phone buzzed with an incoming call from corporate board chair. He declined it and continued. "Madison, you whispered about fake credit cards. Did you know that comment was heard by 4 other customers? 2 of them are local business owners who collectively employ 340 people. Madison's face crumpled. The casual, racist assumption had broader consequences than she'd ever imagined. "Let me share our company's discrimination incident tracking data," Jamal said, pulling up a new dashboard. "Each documented bias incident costs us an average of $23,000 in remediation efforts." He scrolled through the data. Tonight's incidents: denied entry based on appearance, $23,000. Racial profiling comments, $23,000. Discriminatory seating patterns, $23,000. Unequal service timing, $23,000. Police called without cause, $35,000. The tally was building like a prosecutor's case. "From a purely business standpoint," Jamal said, pulling up spreadsheet data, "employee discrimination costs companies an average of $64,000 per incident in legal fees, settlements, and reputation management." He turned his phone screen toward Derek. "Your actions tonight will require crisis communication consulting, $15,000. Legal review and policy updates, $28,000. Mandatory company-wide bias training, $87,000. Media monitoring and response, $22,000. Conservative total, $152,000. The numbers landed like hammer blows. That doesn't include potential boycotts, lost corporate catering contracts, or decreased property values for the shopping center. Derek looked ready to collapse. How do you have all this data?" "Because I've been preparing for this conversation for 3 months, Derek. Every mystery shop, every customer complaint, every online review gets analyzed. Tyler Brooks, Ashley Williams. You're remaining employed because your patterns show unconscious bias, not malicious intent. But make no mistake, you're on performance improvement plans." Tyler nodded frantically. "Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir." "Ashley, your section averaged 3.8 stars in customer feedback over the past 6 months. Company standard is 4.2. You have 60 days to improve or you'll join Derek and Brittany in unemployment." Ashley's hands trembled as she nodded agreement. "Tyler, your service timing shows a 12% difference between black and white customers. Industry standard allows for no more than 5% variance." Both servers looked stunned that such detailed metrics existed. Jamal walked over to Tyrone, who stood at attention despite his promotion announcement. "Mr. Jackson, you're now interim general manager. Your first priority, implementing the Washington Restaurant Group Equity Protocol within 72 hours. "The what, sir?" "Customer service standards that I developed after visiting 22 other locations. Equal greeting times, equal table assignments, equal service frequency, all tracked by our point-of-sale system." Jamal opened another app, showing Tyrone the sophisticated dashboard. "Every server's performance gets analyzed weekly. Demographic service gaps beyond 5% trigger automatic retraining." "How long have you had this system?" Tyrone asked, amazed by the technology. 18 months. It's reduced discrimination complaints by 73% across our restaurant group and increased customer satisfaction scores by 28%. Emma's live stream erupted with comments. This man is playing 4D chess. CEO of the decade. This is what real leadership looks like. Black stories that inspire. Her viewer count hit 89,000. Derek, Jamal said, turning back to the former manager, your severance package includes a non-disclosure agreement and non-compete clause. You'll receive 2 weeks' pay and Cobra health coverage for 30 days. That's it? Derek's voice cracked with desperation. That's generous considering your performance tonight constitutes grounds for immediate termination without compensation under Section 12 of your employment contract. Jamal checked his Rolex 8:02 p.m. My board meeting started 2 minutes ago, but they're watching the live stream. They understand the priority. Through the windows, more news vans had arrived. The parking lot looked like a media circus, with reporters setting up for live broadcasts. However, Jamal continued, I'm not entirely without mercy. The room perked up slightly. Derek, you can apply for our unconscious bias rehabilitation program. 12 weeks of intensive training, community service, and demonstrated behavior change. Successful completion allows you to apply for positions at our restaurants after 1 year. Derek's eyes flickered with desperate hope. The program has a 67% success rate. Participants who complete it become our strongest advocates for inclusive service. They understand the cost of discrimination because they've lived it. Brittany, Madison, same opportunity applies to you. Emma couldn't contain her excitement. Y'all, even in firing them, this man is offering redemption. That's next-level leadership right there. The live stream viewer count approached 95,000. To everyone watching this unfold, Jamal announced, his voice carrying clearly through the silent restaurant. This is how accountability works in business. Not with lawyers or PR firms or damage control. With data, consequences, and paths to redemption. The quiet power of systematic change had spoken louder than any angry confrontation ever could. 3 weeks later, the transformation at Serenity Restaurant was visible from the moment customers walked through the door. Emma returned for a follow-up visit, this time without her phone recording. The same entrance where she'd live-streamed discrimination now showcased a diverse staff greeting every customer with genuine warmth. Welcome to Serenity, said the new hostess, Keisha Williams, a young black woman whose smile reached her eyes. Do you have a reservation this evening? Behind her, the hostess station displayed a small plaque. All guests deserve dignity, respect, and exceptional service. Management. Tyrone Jackson, now sporting a manager's tie instead of a security uniform, approached Emma's table. Ms. Thompson, right? You're the young lady who filmed everything that night. Emma nodded, slightly nervous about being recognized. I wanted to thank you personally, Tyrone continued. Your live stream didn't just expose the problem, it forced us to find real solutions. He gestured around the transformed dining room. Mr. Washington implemented the equity protocol company-wide. Every Washington Restaurant Group location now uses the same standards. The changes were systematic and measurable. Digital displays in the kitchen showed real-time service metrics by table, ensuring equal attention regardless of customer demographics. New point-of-sale systems tracked greeting times, order accuracy, and customer satisfaction scores. How's it working? Emma asked, genuinely curious. Customer satisfaction is up 34% in 3 weeks, Tyrone reported with obvious pride. Our Yelp rating jumped from 3.2 to 4.1 stars. More importantly, our return customer rate for Black patrons increased from 23% to 52%. The financial impact was equally dramatic. Revenue had increased 18% as word spread through social media about the restaurant's transformation. The viral live stream, now viewed over 2.3 million times, had become an unexpected marketing asset. What happened to Derek and the others? Emma inquired. Tyrone's expression grew thoughtful. Derek enrolled in the rehabilitation program. He's actually doing well-completed bias training, volunteers at a community center, and writes a blog about unconscious discrimination in hospitality. The program's structure was intensive: 40 hours of bias awareness training, 80 hours of community service with diverse populations, and monthly mentoring sessions with civil rights advocates. Brittany and Madison both declined the program initially, Tyrone continued. But Madison came back last week asking to enroll. She realized how her actions affected people. The ripple effects extended beyond individual redemption. 3 other restaurant chains had contacted Jamal requesting consultation on implementing similar equity protocols. The mayor's office invited him to lead a citywide hospitality inclusion initiative. Tyler and Ashley, how are they adjusting? Emma asked. Night and day difference, Tyrone smiled. Tyler's now one of our top-rated servers. His bias awareness training opened his eyes to patterns he never recognized. Tyler had become an advocate for the new system, often mentoring newer staff on unconscious bias recognition. His customer feedback scores improved from 3.8 to 4.7 stars. Ashley struggled initially, Tyrone admitted. But she's improving. Sometimes people need time to unlearn behaviors they've practiced for years. The transformation included structural changes beyond individual training. New hiring practices prioritized diverse candidates for management positions. Customer feedback systems included specific questions about service equality. Anonymous reporting tools allowed staff to flag discriminatory behavior without fear of retaliation. Mr. Washington visits monthly now, Tyrone explained. Sometimes announced, sometimes not. But he doesn't need to catch people discriminating anymore. The systems prevent it. The restaurant had become a case study in corporate accountability. Business schools requested permission to use the incident in coursework about crisis management and social responsibility. Emma looked around the bustling dining room where she had witnessed such pain 3 weeks earlier. It feels completely different here. Because it is different, Tyrone said. When you know you're being measured on fairness, when your promotion depends on treating everyone equally, behavior changes fast. The evening's customers reflected the transformation, a diverse mix of families, couples, and business groups. Table assignments showed no demographic patterns. Service timing remained consistent across all customers. What's Mr. Washington's next step? Emma asked. He's expanding the program to all 47 locations, Tyrone revealed, plus opening 5 new restaurants specifically in underserved communities. The business case for equality had proven itself. Discrimination cost money. Inclusion generated profit. He also started a scholarship fund for hospitality students from underrepresented communities, Tyrone added. I want to change the industry from the ground up. As Emma prepared to leave, she noticed a framed newspaper clipping by the exit. Local CEO turns discrimination incident into industry reform movement. The subtitle read, Washington Restaurant Group's data-driven approach to bias elimination sets a new standard for hospitality accountability. Below it, a handwritten note from Jamal. Every customer's dignity matters. Every employee's growth matters. Every moment is an opportunity to do better. Emma smiled, remembering the quiet power she'd witnessed that night. Sometimes the most profound changes came not from anger or confrontation, but from systematic accountability and the courage to demand better. The transformation was complete, but the impact was just beginning. 6 months after that transformative evening, Jamal Washington stood before a packed auditorium at the National Restaurant Association's annual conference. The keynote speech he'd been invited to deliver carried a simple title, The Business Case for Dignity. Discrimination isn't just morally wrong, he told the audience of 3,000 restaurant owners and managers. It's financially devastating. The PowerPoint behind him displayed stark numbers. Pre-reform average, 2.3 M annual revenue. Post-reform average, 2.8 M annual revenue. Increase, 22% across all locations. The Washington Restaurant Group had become the fastest-growing chain in the Southeast. Their equity protocol was now licensed to 127 restaurants across 12 states. The National Association of Black Restaurant Owners named Jamal their Person of the Year. The night I was denied entry to my own restaurant, Jamal continued, I had a choice. I could have gotten angry, made threats, or filed lawsuits. Instead, I chose data over drama, systems over shouting. In the audience, Emma Thompson sat in the front row, now working as a social justice correspondent for a major news network. Her original live stream had launched her career and became required viewing in journalism schools studying citizen reporting. The ripple effects continued expanding. Derek Martinez had completed the rehabilitation program and now worked as a bias consultant for hospitality companies. His transformation story became a documentary featured at film festivals nationwide. These touching stories remind us that change is possible, Jamal said, clicking to his next slide. But only when we measure what matters. The slide showed the Washington Restaurant Group's current metrics: 89% customer satisfaction across all demographics, 15% annual revenue growth, and 0 discrimination complaints in 6 months. Real-life stories like mine happen every day, Jamal continued. The question is, will you be the business that perpetuates harm or the one that creates healing? State legislatures in Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina had introduced bills requiring bias training for restaurant managers. The Washington Protocol was being studied by federal civil rights officials as a potential national standard. Brittany Carter, who had completed the rehabilitation program, now managed a diverse team at a competing restaurant chain. She credited her transformation to the accountability moment that forced her to confront her unconscious biases. I thought I wasn't racist, she'd written in her program completion essay. But racism isn't just hatred, it's assumptions, patterns, and systems that harm people whether we intend it or not. Madison Torres chose a different path, leaving the hospitality industry entirely. She now worked for a nonprofit focused on workplace equality, drawing from her experience as both perpetrator and reformed advocate. The broader impact reached beyond restaurants. Retail chains, hotels, and service companies began implementing similar equity protocols. Harvard Business School developed a case study course around Jamal's systematic approach to discrimination elimination. The power of accountability, Jamal concluded his speech, isn't in punishment. It's in transformation. When we measure bias, we can eliminate it. When we track equity, we can achieve it. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes. As Jamal left the stage, he thought about the quiet revolution that had started with one humiliating evening and one brave college student with a phone camera. Sometimes the most powerful changes began with the simple act of bearing witness. Now it's your turn to be that witness. Have you experienced discrimination in restaurants, stores, or service businesses? Have you seen others treated unfairly because of their race, appearance, or perceived status? Your story matters. Your voice can drive change. Share this video if you believe in accountability over anger, systems over shame. Comment below with your own experiences, both witnessing discrimination and seeing positive change. Subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories that prove quiet power creates lasting transformation. Because every customer deserves dignity. Every business can do better. And every story shared brings us closer to a world where no one is judged by their appearance before their character. Hit that notification bell. The revolution will be live-streamed.
The story you heard today wasn't cleaned up. It was told exactly as it happened. At Black Voices Uncut, we believe that's the only way truth can live. If you felt something, hit like, comment, and your reaction, and subscribe. Every week, we bring you voices that refuse to be silenced.